Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Collectively Crimson Volume 3.
We're getting better every week.
We are. I think this will be less of a circus act than the last two. We're not going to promise perfection. Ryan and I have set a over-under at episode 20 for this.
Yeah, and let's also remind people, this is volunteer. We're doing this for free.
Right. That's right.
Normally at Hurley Media Group, I've got some very good professionals on everything. It's past 5 o'clock. They're at home right now.
Yeah.
So this is
because you're a good employer. It's really nice, man. It's really nice.
They're not here.
If
Brandon was here, if Skylar was here running the board, oh my gosh, it would be like no problem. But when it's me,
here we go. It's January 7th, 2026. This is Collectively Crimson, your home of the Cougar Collective. And down in the description box, we have ways for y'all to sign up. So, join us, be part of the collective.
We're at almost I think we might have crossed the 3,000 member threshold.
Listen, for those of you tuning in, either live or on replay, big, huge thanks to the Cougar Nation. The energy the last couple of weeks.
It has been a gas. What a time to be a Coug, man.
I mean, did you ever think that you would look forward to the transfer portal weeks? Because I would go hide in a closet under a blanket and start shivering for a couple of weeks when that used to roll around.
Well, especially last year where it was just a trauma, a
car
wash of awful.
It was an exodus, complete exodus. Exactly. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about tonight.
We have a great show. We've got our new GM.
That's right, Brad Larondo.
He's not here quite yet.
Yeah, but we're going to figure out what the heck does a GM do, because when Brian and I went to college, there was no such thing as a GM.
Well, and let's go through the history of we've now had 3 GMs. He's our 3rd GM.
Yes.
We had Schlager, who started with Rogers, and you got to understand, Chun was still in charge then, or he was on his way out, or maybe I might have been gone by then. But everybody was just terrified because we had state laws that made it
our
illegal.
Ethics rules were really messed up at the time.
The Schlager stuff was fun because we'd meet him at it was
like a mafia
operation. It was pretty fun.
It was
like don't make eye contact with him.
Yeah, we beat him in parking garages like at SeaTac Airport at about
cover your mouth and then just get the drive from him with the Excel spreadsheet. Yeah,
we were talking to him.
And then we had Ricky from who was on Rogers' staff.
But at that time, the world had kind of opened up.
Exactly, but even that there's no how to be a GM school. You can't, it's like an AI job. You can't hire it with
their
experience.
Role appears to be really different.
Yes.
Right. So unlike a GM for an MLB team, where their role is essentially the same no matter what MLB team you're the GM of, when it comes to being a GM for a major college football program, those roles are defined by what the head coach needs them to do and what the priorities need to be, what the institution is providing in the way of support services and things like that. So that role changes, and it may change. Your first GM may have a much different role than your 3rd GM because, again, the institution adjusts to things. The collective adjusts to things as well.
Well, the world adjusts to things, and
some better than others.
Well, here's what I like, and I have had the opportunity to meet with Brad and talk with Brad, and wow, I think we're in for a treat on this one.
Yeah, you were pretty stoked.
I was really stoked.
Yeah.
Here's a couple just different things, and every staff has their own culture kind of stuff. Dickert, I gotta hand it to Dickert. He was always just like, everything's gonna be great.
He was the rah-rah master.
Just rah-rah master. But it still made you go what aren't you worried about that you should? What are you worried about that you're not telling me? Yeah,
it should have been every game in November.
Yeah. And then with Rogers' staff, and I liked everybody on Rogers' staff, but there was this mentality of we're gonna do the best we can with what we've got. So you would hear a lot of we're going to be really competitive, but the undercurrent was we're not going to be that competitive because we don't have enough, but we know we're not allowed to say that out loud.
Competitive product out on the field last year.
Absolutely.
Right.
But
a couple plays here and there. And I mean,
you could tell when talking to everybody, there was a little bit of an Eeyore mentality of we just don't have enough, and it was
which is not the attitude you can have when you're a Coug.
No, God, no. Which is also why they're no longer here. Which is probably why.
Well, yeah, because Iowa State is always in their conference has been known as the school that has so much.
It's a dream job.
It's a dream job in the Big 12.
It's the Harvard of the Midwest. Yeah,
but I will say this though. I went down to the Alamo Bowl a few years ago when we had Minshew playing, right?
Yeah.
And we played Iowa State.
Yes.
And their alumni base was
Were they fun?
Oh, they were fantastic. They're just like Cougs. They get after it. The bars were packed at 10 in the morning.
Okay.
And they weren't talking smack before the game. They were humble in defeat. You know, Cougs don't really run around and go rub people's noses in it too, right? Well,
we're going to get to an exception here.
There's exceptions there's exceptions to every rule, Brian. Okay. But no, I thought the Iowa State fan base was fantastic.
Pretty cool, folks.
Great folks.
That's good to know.
Yeah, Brock Purdy played that game. He was a freshman quarterback there.
Oh, holy smokes.
Yeah, Brock Purdy was, and the kid played really
balled.
Well. Yeah, he balled that night. Yeah.
So what I will say with Kirby's staff so far, the mentality is just this, no, we're going to be a championship team. When you talk to Brad, when you talk to these as they're recruiting, and that's been their mentality in the portal, is this like, no, we need this guy because if we're going to be if we're going to win a championship, we need that guy.
Wasn't that the whole purpose of hanging on to the Pac-12 and regenerating it, is so that there would be a conference out here and we would be and Oregon State. I'd like to see them. But you have this Mamba
mentality with this staff so far, and I've been really impressed. Yeah. And you know, Brad comes from, and I'm gonna see if Cassie, is she out there? Do you want to see if Cassie can text him real quick and just?
Hey, Cassie.
But what I'll say, you want me to hop up, if you don't mind, what I'll say is that, you know, what I've been taken with so far with this staff is, this is a staff who's coming in here to win with the intention of winning. And I know every coach says that when the microphones are on, but when the lights go off and they're having real conversations about, did my wife leave me? Did she wait till the podcast to leave me? Yeah, come on in. Yeah. But these guys are here to win, and they when, like, after I talk to them, I'm going, we're gonna win. Like,
why shouldn't we win the conference? Why shouldn't we? I mean, if you look on paper, if you take a look at program history, if you take a look at paper, and if you take a look at the energy that can be generated at Washington State University, what we're capable of doing, why shouldn't we win that conference this coming year?
Well, 100%. Like, a month ago, if you were to ask me, is WSU going to win the Pac-12 next year? I'd go, may, you know, and now I'm like, hell yeah. Like,
why
yes,
not?
We absolutely are.
Who's going to be better than us? I think.
Because we've had the most fun transfer portal ever.
It's been a good couple of weeks.
Let's pivot real quick.
You want to talk about something else?
I want to talk about something else.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, why don't you introduce what we're going to talk about next?
Well, you know, in this ever-changing world of college athletics, where we have to do things like podcasts for collectives, money's become a big issue.
Big issue.
And the bigger the school you are, the bigger the issues can be.
Oh, there's only one really big school.
Well, let's talk about the biggest one in our state.
Yeah,
the big Death Star over there at Montlake. But what do you think about what happened with Tamon Williams? Oh, come on.
The coach on Twitter last night was amazing.
No. We got this little text stream amongst all the useful idiots that volunteer on the collective, and early last night is dropping out like, check out this X Spaces that's going on.
There was an X space of all of these
and so I popped in
and I sent it to the collective. We've got a little group chat for the collective, and I sent it to him, and it was so much fun to just eavesdrop on that.
It is.
How could this happen to us?
Yeah, no, that's the problem. You know, that is the problem. And this goes to show what's wrong with college football. And I was like, you're just now figuring it out.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like when the opioid crisis finally hit like the wealthy towns, and everybody's like, we got to do something about this.
They don't even want to do anything about the homeless population until they start dealing with this
forever.
Yeah, welcome to our world, Washington. But you know, there's a lesson to be learned here, I think, Brian.
What is that?
Well, I think that for the University of Washington as an institution to cry foul about someone backing out of an agreement,
that to me was the ultimate hypocrisy.
Let us go back. Would you like to go back in our time machine for a moment?
It's not even the way back time machine.
No, it's August 3rd of 2023, actually. I'm a lawyer. I looked this crap up.
Yeah.
Okay. August 3rd of 2023 was a Wednesday. And that evening prior, Tuesday evening, there had been 10 institutions that had met for a meeting, and they had finalized a TV deal for the Pac-12, which would have been minus USC
they
and
had
UCLA.
An agreement in
had
principle.
An agreement in principle. It was really just the drafters had to go write it all up over the night so they could get back together in the morning, sign the deal, and that would have been the Pac-12 minus the 2 LA schools, and we could have adjusted from there, and it would have saved the conference. And all right, so agreement in place, pretty good deal, right? Except the morning of August 3rd, 2023, with an agreement in place, who were the 2 institutions who then notified the remaining institutions that, no, actually, we're going to back out of it?
One was Oregon. And the other was,
the University of Washington.
The University of Washington.
The University of Washington. And that, as you know, then began the avalanche that was the destruction of the then Pac-12 conference.
Correct.
Where I will remind everyone that they left us and Oregon State for dead. They did. And not only did they leave us for dead, but then let's follow up, because what did the University of Washington do on behalf of all of the other institutions that had left at the last minute? Oh, that's right. They sued Washington State University.
Well, and that's their plan right now. They're going to sue this kid.
They're going to sue this kid.
But you had some interesting...
Yeah.
Let's talk about their litigation track record.
Yeah, let's talk about their litigation track record. So when they had the final meeting of the Pac-10 at that point, every one of the institutions there thought that they were entitled to a parting gift. And that would be to take the $250 million in assets, split it up 10 ways, and everyone could leave with an exit door prize.
Yeah.
The problem is that the Pac-12 bylaws had said that the minute you announce that you intend on leaving the conference, you no longer have a vote. USC and UCLA had not even sat at the table for over a year.
And I'd like to point out what a giant Coug nerd and legal nerd you are. You drove over to sit
I went over
and
I did. I'm a masochist. It was worth it, though. And so I would say this much to the University of Washington. I doubt any of you are watching, but if you are, welcome. How's your week going? But if you are going to sue this kid, whatever attorneys you hire, don't hire the ones you had in Colfax, okay? Because it was one of the worst performances I'd ever seen.
Well, tell me, so, you had a really fun example.
Well, yeah, no, what had happened is that they had decided that they all get to take their share of money. The problem, of course, is that there was only 2 votes left at the table, and that was Washington State and Oregon State, and they were both kind of big fans of leaving all the money there.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that led to us suing for an injunction, and there was only 1 or 2 venues where it could have been sued: Corvallis, Oregon, or Whitman County, Washington, which it's a pretty good venue in Whitman County. Good judges over there.
I like that the judge was like serving scones or cotton candy at the Whitman County Fair.
The folks at Whitman County, for all the friends out there, Whitman County court system, since I've played with y'all very nice people out there. Okay. So anyways, during the course of argument, when they were saying like, hey, we're entitled to this money, the judge asked, what happens to all the other intellectual property, the trademarks, the copyrighted material, all of that? What do you guys all do with that? And the attorney for the University of Washington said, well, I don't know. You'll have to ask Oregon State and Washington State. It's their conference.
Exactly. That was their attorney said that.
Yeah, exactly. It is our conference, including all the assets that came with it. So thank you. And there was this little like gasp in the courtroom. Like even the judge was like, and it was, you see these on TV, because if you watch TV or movies about lawyers, which are never accurate, they make the life look way better than it truly is. You'll have these aha moments, but you don't really see them in court a lot. And I saw it in Colfax. So the attorneys for the University of Washington on that one,
don't hire them. And without going into too much detail too, the just general hypocrisy of UW crying foul with tampering is, we have plenty of examples. We're not going to go into them here, but this is
tampering is alive and well.
It's alive and well.
And when you are a school like Washington State University that does an excellent job of developing talent,
you find out about it pretty quick.
Yeah, you have a lot of 3-star kids that quickly become 4-star players, right? Because our coaching staff has traditionally picked good young talent and developed it. And so without naming names and stuff like that, is tampering alive and well? All too well.
100%.
All too well.
So I do hope that, I get it. They're trying to probably get some sort of settlement or something out of LSU.
Well,
but
here's the thing.
We were talking about this beforehand. They really don't have a lot of recourse.
They don't, because ultimately, and we could get into the really geeky lawyer stuff, and we're just stalling because we're waiting for Brad Larondo, our new GM, to get here.
Real quick, I'm gonna go check in with Cassie, but why don't you talk to these guys about it for a second?
So at the end of the day, if the University of Washington wants to sue this kid for breaching the contract, what they're going to have to do is establish damages. There's a clause in the contract that says there's a buyout that the University of Washington could basically determine the value. But what happens if the University of Washington throws out a ridiculous number like $150 million or something to that effect? And so if the contract was ever challenged in court, there's a process called blue lining where a judge can come in and say, this is unconscionable, this is unlawful, this is fundamentally unfair, and blue line it out. And once we get to that point, what's going to be left is the university.
Here he is. Here he is. I was just going to stall here. Sorry, you keep going.
No, let's jump in because he's a busy man.
He's a busy guy.
We'll come back in and we will come back on Damon Williams and the terrible position that the UW legal team might be in.
Much fun.
It's
awesome. So much fun.
But let's get
him in here.
We'll call him Coach.
Let's ask him.
Yeah,
here.
Hold on
just a second. Brad, can you hear me okay, sir?
Oh, yeah. How are you guys doing?
We're doing phenomenal.
We are. Welcome. We got a quick question. Do we call you Brad or do we get to call you Coach? Because you're part of the staff, right?
I am, but you can call me Brad. I prefer that rather than Coach.
Okay. All right, Brad.
A lot of them call me Coach around here.
All right. Well, welcome to Collectively Crimson. Welcome to Pullman, Washington.
And I was just talking to Cassie outside, and she said that you were in a meeting with Kirby. So I was just coming back in here to be like, hey, the guy's got better things to do
clearly
than screw around with us today. But
I would say right now it is like jumping from one skillet to the next as we're trying to do all this portal stuff. I mean, it's exhausting. It's exhilarating. It's challenging. It's fun. I mean, all those things. But
yeah, but man, you guys have been killing it.
Crazy. I feel like we're doing
kicking butt.
Yeah, I feel like we're doing a good job, and we got another round of commitments today that'll be coming out pretty soon. So,
God, that's fun.
Brad, Brian and I have had to ride the roller coaster of being a Coug through a lot of good times and bad times. The portal period is a time where we normally shiver, want to go hide in a closet or things. So the excitement level that's been injected back into the Cougar Nation through what's happened in the last couple of weeks with this portal and the retention too. I think that's an important thing too. Not only what we've accumulated, but what we've kept. You and your staff out there, just a bang up job, dynamite job.
Well, I appreciate that, but it all starts with the university leadership, and I would be remiss if I didn't say, John Harlow, President Cantwell, all the athletic administration, they have made it very clear that this is a priority, and they are allowing us to do some things to really, really inject what you're talking about. I really, hats off to them. I think we've been attacking. There's no question about it, and I think we've got a staff that believes in the vision that we're pushing forward. We've got a head coach that obviously is going to be phenomenal, and he has really, really done an outstanding job, starting with when he got hired, being around the program, being around the guys during the bowl game. It's awkward, when you got one staff kind of leaving and one staff getting hired and coming in. But I thought Coach Moore handled that tremendously, and then the relationships that the few of us that were able to jump on right around the bowl time down in Boise were able to start talking to these returning players, getting things lined up, developing that relationship, and then being able to come through with what we told them we would. At the end of the day, I think really set the retention, up for us. And then, I mean, we've been getting after it in the portal. We're not satisfied with just putting a roster together. We want to put a championship roster that can compete to get into the college football playoff. I mean, we're not going to deny it. We're not going to run away from it. That is what we want to try to do: win a Pac-12 championship and put yourself in a position to have a roster that could compete, at the highest level.
You see what
amen.
We were just talking. Like, I want to run through a wall now.
Let's do this. But Brad, I got a question for you because I think a lot of people don't know this because when Brian went to college, when I went to college, there was no such thing as a GM of a college football program. Why don't you just tell our listeners what exactly is your role there? I know it's super important and people need to understand the importance of this.
Yeah. And I've got about 30 years of college athletic, kind of experience starting out on the external relations side. Then I was able to move inside of football with Chris Peterson at Boise State, and then was able to go down to Auburn and then University of Missouri, and then come back to the Pacific Northwest here with Coach Moore. I think what my role is kind of one of those that handles a lot of the off the field, business side of things, but it's also important from a fundraising standpoint, from facilities, from just a master plan of where we want this football program to go, along with, John Harlow, along with Brad Hutchins, along with the other senior leadership in our athletic department, to provide that window to be able to say, okay, these are the resources we need. This is what we need to do to be able to structure this. This is how we've got to be competitive in this new landscape of college athletics, where you've got transfer portal and free agency every year. You've got NIL, third-party NIL. You've got revenue share. You've got, the new Pac-12. How do we brand ourselves? How do we push ourselves forward in that? How do we become a school on the West Coast that can have really strong football success? And then it's obviously negotiating contracts too. It's sitting down and budgeting out how the roster is put together. It's building out the roster so you have things spaced between freshmen to seniors. How much are you spending? How are you slotting guys? What are those conversations like? You don't want the head coach to have all those conversations. The true GM is Kirby Moore. I'm not going to lie about that. He's the head coach, and in college, the head coach is the GM, the CEO, the executive leader, the grand poobah, whatever you want to call it, and the head coach.
Yeah, he's the field general.
But a lot of times the head coach also has to have a coach-player relationship, and you want them to be able to have that and sell the culture and the vision of the program. I then can have those conversations with agents or parents or even the athletes themselves that talks about how we are set up from a revenue share standpoint or an NIL standpoint or a scholarship standpoint. Doesn't necessarily make me the bad guy, but it's the realistic part of the business world.
You're the truth teller.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to tell the truth on these things and make it so coach can have that relationship with the parents and the kid. And then the questions come up, I can handle those.
Brad brings up a good point, because there's been an experiment in the NFL where certain coaches have gotten to be both the GM and the head coach, and it's never worked. And it's for that exact reason, that they can't be the X's and O's guys and running the business too.
I mean, it's difficult, especially at the level of college football right now. You're dealing with rosters that are much bigger than an NFL roster. You're dealing with a lot of things coming at you with free agency every year and the transfer portal. Just being able to balance your numbers on the roster, and I'm talking like how many scholarships you have, how many walk-ons, the 105 cap, designated players, and then trying to do it with a salary cap or a budget that you have. It's just not possible to do that. Plus, make sure that you're holding assistant coaches and coordinators accountable, that you're putting together the culture and vision of the program, that you're able to have player relationships. And then ultimately, when you set the practice schedules and the calendar, you got to go then operate in the best 3 hours of the day for any coaches when they're on the field. And then they got to do the tactical stuff come game day. I mean, that is a lot. And most coaches that have been around for 15, 20, 25 years. And Kirby started this thing back in 2014. That was pre-NIL. That was pre-transfer portal. And so a lot of these coaches, they have to lean on their staff internally to be able to make sure that we balance all these things and advise them, because ultimately they're the ones that are at the top of the food chain and they have to be held accountable to that. So you have to surround yourself with people that can make sure you're putting yourself in a good position to make those decisions.
There's so much refreshing about what you're saying. And I got to say, just the things that stand out is, I think it's very clear that the administration hired a killer staff. We're pumped to have you all.
Big time.
And then the other one, as you talk about, President Cantwell, and you talk about what John Harlow's been able to do. What I like is this culture of, and hopefully this is not something you'll ever have, but historically at WSU, there's been I always call it the crimson tape, where it's just this, well, we can't do that because of this kind of thing, We're
going to do the best we can with what we got.
Exactly. And I got to say, and I think the leadership comes from the top with President Cantwell, is I have not gotten a lot of those. I haven't found myself in a lot of those calls and a lot of those hand-wringing situations. And I'm stoked about it. So like Coug Nation, when you hear this kind of stuff, this is
it, man.
Like the goosebumps are happening, because I think all of us, everybody behind the scenes is pretty, we're pretty pumped about starting our season against UW next year.
Brad, how much longer do you got? How much longer is the portal open?
So the portal is open until January 16th, but we're in a little bit of a stretch run right now because school starts on January 12th here. And so we're trying to lock down most of our portal guys, over the course of the next 2, 3, 4 days, so they can all be in school on Monday when we start. I mean, there is a little bit of a buffer that you can get them in after the 12th. You don't have a long time, but we feel really good. I mean, we've had, anywhere from 5 to 9 or 10, portal prospects on campus over the last 4 days. We've got a bunch more coming tomorrow. We've got more coming Friday and Saturday. And we feel really, really good at where we're at. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement over the next 4 to 5 days as we lock up who's coming into the portal, as much excitement about who we're able to retain. And I mean,
well, the retention was, again, was fantastic. But if you're telling me there's more excitement, Brad, I got to tell you that we've all been pretty giddy for the last week or so already.
Well,
so this is good news.
I'll give a plug here. They've still got a lot of work ahead of them. And when they annualize out their budgets, they're taking into consideration how many of these 1890 club members we've got.
That's true.
Yeah. So I'm guessing everybody who's 500 people who are watching right now are all 1890 club members, but
someone who isn't.
Pick up the phone, get them to join the 1890 club, or get them to join their CAF. Whatever, just give some cash that way.
Brad, last question, then we'll let you go. And I can't thank you enough for your time. Why, again, I want you to explain in the modern era of college football how important NIL is for the entire experience, not only for the alumni, but for the student athlete, for the coaching staff, for the university as a whole, how important it truly is.
I mean, you can't overstate how important it is. I mean, because right now, to remain competitive, to compete for championships, which is what we want to do at Washington State and what Washington State wants to see happen, you have to have a strong NIL program and revenue share program. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everybody is finding ways to generate additional revenue to be able to have that money to acquire talent and to retain talent. Everything else gets fed from that. If we're going to have massive season tickets, if we're going to sell sponsorships, if we're going to sell out every single piece of premium seating that we have available, all those things that lead to success, you have to have the talent on the field. And that is where rev share and NIL is the key arm of talent acquisition and talent retention. If not, you're going to step behind other programs because they're going to figure out a way to do it. This is a long, proud tradition at Washington State. There are fans here that have seen some unbelievable days, unbelievable wins, unbelievable players, and we want to take it back to that point where they see those things. And there is nothing that we want to do more than to win the Pac-12 championship next year and in the coming years and be the flagship institution of this new Pac-12. And then we'll see what happens over the next 3 to 5 years. There's still a lot of just stuff that's going to change in college athletics.
Yeah, you might have some other schools knocking on the door saying, "Hey, is there any space over in your conference?" Two in the Bay Area come to mind right away, by the way.
Yeah. And we have to be the one that positions ourselves to be the flag bearer for this conference and see where all this stuff, the shifting landscape happens. It cannot, and I stress this, it cannot be done without a strong revenue share and NIL program. That is the single most important thing from a fundraising standpoint, probably with a 1A and a 1B next to selling tickets and premium seating. You have to be able to have that stadium filled. Every single Saturday we're playing a home game because that is going to drive the revenue needed for us to be able to put the players on the field that everybody's going to be proud of. We're super excited to get out and about over the course of the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months. We're going to hit a lot of places. My background is in external and marketing and broadcasting and all that stuff, as well as football. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to pound the pavements. I'll come on this show anytime you want. I'll help you guys do whatever we need. We need to do because I tell you what, the Crimson and Gray, I mean, we're going to take over this league, and we have one thing in mind, and that's to win a lot of football games.
I'm jacked.
I couldn't be more stoked
right now.
If that guy's the salesman of our program, I'm in. So, Brad, we're going to let you get back to it. Happy recruiting.
Go Cougs.
Welcome to Pullman, and go Cougs, man.
Go Cougs. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Dude,
Okay, so,
I'm jacked right now.
Right? I told you.
I
seriously. Told you. Yeah.
He did. He's like, dude, you're going to want to go
After I met with him, I texted the whole collective board. I was like, guys, we got a winner here. So we're going to cut to a commercial real quick, and then we're going to
pay the bills. We're going to pay the bills.
We're going to pay the bills. And then we're going to talk to Jamie Vinnick from.
Oh, he's already dialed up, ready to go.
Dialed up. So
sweet.
Jamie, give us a couple seconds, and we're going to watch some commercials here. When I figure out how to do this.
Yeah, we were doing really good up
there. We were really. Oh, damn it! There we go.
Did you hear that? No.
Yeah, I definitely heard that.
When Paddock wanted to help raise money for the Cougar Collective, we thought, why not give them a Cougar Collector?
Hold on. Let me try something.
Yeah! Woo!
Handmade by Paddock right here in Pullman, Old Crimson Legendary Cocktail isn't just a drink. It's a canned vodka cocktail that magically turns every weekend into, well, Mom's weekend.
All right, we are back.
You guys do that, Ed?
We did.
That's a nice job, man.
We have so much fun with those because, like, here's the best part.
I recognize most people in
it.
Too.
Well, one, we always have really good stars for our commercial, but like that's when you're doing them for free. You don't have the client can't tell you what to do.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So it's a good point. I never practiced law that way, but
no,
they would have penciled real well.
But like all the dumb ideas we have that we can't sell to, Dairy Gold or whoever,
just let them appear.
We'll do them for the collective. Yeah. All right. So we've got one of my favorite sports reporters here, and we're going to welcome Jamie Vinnick to
Jamie,
program.
Thanks for listen. First of all, if you guys aren't checking out CougFan, all right, you should, because it is your go-to source for everything WSU. I'm real fond of CougFan for a couple of reasons. Number one is because I think Jamie Vinnick does really good work. Number two, I'm really fond of one of their sideline reporters they got down there for all the football games. Junior, if you're watching right now, I hope you're only 1 or 2 beers into your evening so far. Anyway, but Jamie, welcome to Collectively Crimson, man. Thanks a million for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Listen, we just had Brad Larondo here, our new GM, and we both Brian and I are jacked out of our minds right now. And I know that things normally this time of the year we're in full panic mode because the portal's open, but I'm getting the impression that things are a lot different. We're going to talk about some position groups, but I kind of want you to tell the viewers, because you've been following this team for a long time. You know the roster about as well as anyone. Where is this roster situated right now?
Yeah, I think what stands out, obviously, is some of the guys they were able to retain. And I think what jumps out is, that includes maybe some guys who in past years would not have been retained. You look at the Kirby Voorheeses and the Tony Freemans right off the bat. You add in a coaching change, and I think from the start there was a feeling that it wasn't going to hit as hard as last year, purely because you had a lot more just name type guys. You had the John Mateers, you had the Ethan O'Connors. This year, a lot of the team's best players were graduating anyways, right? So when you talk about Tucker Large and you talk about Josh Meredith and Hilborn and Dew, you were already losing those guys. So obviously there are guys that have hit the portal that Washington State would have loved to retain. That would have been great players to retain, but I think the feeling right now is that there's a lot more of a foundation than maybe there was last year when you were just kind of building around Eckhouse, Hilborn, Dew, Meredith, Ram Stevenson. There wasn't as many established guys. And I think when you look at this year of, okay, you've got your running backs, you've got Tony Freeman, you've got Lechner, you bring back your whole offensive line, and we've seen how important, the continuity is at that position. And then obviously there's been more losses on the defense. I think that was probably to be expected, just considering the nature of Jimmy Rogers as a defensive coach. But you still were able to bring back guys like Keith Brown, guys like Caden Beatty, guys who have kind of that powerful voice on the defense. They're leaders, they're big personalities. And I think that's helped keep some of the younger talent around. Again, I look at guys like Jamari Smith and guys like, right now, Aramis Wright, Isaiah Hung, guys who at this point it looks like will be back. Hung has signed his contract. I don't believe there's been anything on Smith and Wright yet. But I just think overall you're looking where this roster is, and it's just a little bit more of like, okay, you see much more of where the blueprint starts. Whereas last year when Rodgers took over, it was basically starting from the absolute ground up. I think there was already something in place this time.
And it also just felt like panic mode last year. Like everything was panic mode. Even going into the football complex when that staff got there, it was just like, I remember all those South Dakota trucks were like parked all cattywampus, like getting parking tickets from Pullman and stuff like that. They didn't even have time to park correctly. They were just running in there with their hair on fire.
Brad says that we're expecting some other really exciting news in the next couple of days. I don't know if there's anything you can tease us on or anything like that, but have you heard any rumblings of things that might get Coug fans even more excited?
There's always the whispers and the rumbles. The tough part about new staff coming in is kind of reestablishing, connections with them and being able to gather intel. So I'll take Brad as his word. I don't know a whole lot more than everyone else does right now, but I think there's names that come up. You see the guys who tweet out, "Hey, they're visiting. Hey, they Washington State offered in the portal," and but I think there's also an art of this that is, there's some guys under the radar. Like Caden Pinnock was not on my radar at all until 3:00 yesterday.
What do you think of that? I mean, everyone always looks good when you look at the film, but because they're always showing you the good stuff. But what you make of that signing?
I'll put it this way. I keep a pretty long list of like potential portal targets, and these can be anywhere from guys who are visiting to, hey, Kirby Moore followed him on Twitter. I didn't have Pinnock on there because I didn't think he was a realistic target. I thought he was going to end up in the Power 4 ranks or even at a Group of 5 school with, even more maybe funds, a Tulane type of thing, a school like that per se. So the fact that they were able to get him, a guy who, just threw for 400 plus yards against Illinois State. It was the FCS runner-up. A guy who threw for
lost by a point on a missed on a blocked extra point.
Very well could have been the national champs.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah.
I think the upside is immense because he's a redshirt freshman. So I think having a guy like that, it's a huge win out of the portal to get a quarterback of that kind of talent.
What do you know about the wide receiver that we just got out of, I believe, Florida?
Yeah, so he's definitely an upside guy too. He was decently productive as a freshman. Didn't do a whole lot last year. It's not hard to get lost in the shuffle. I know Florida wasn't a great team last year. It's still an SEC team. It's still Florida. So he's the type of guy
down there.
Yeah, he's the type of guy.
Hey guys, I got some breaking news here that I got to interrupt for. Keith Brown, who is always just he's like the loudest leak on the team here.
Yeah, we leaking good info.
He's saying that Jamie is coming out of retirement and Jamie's going to play for us next year. Any comments on that, Jamie?
Jamie.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Jamie hasn't played football since he was in 3rd grade, so I can promise you there is no world in that happens. I mean,
but that means you still got 4 years of eligibility left.
This is true.
That's the important thing, man.
Look, maybe 5 depending on the course.
You ain't going to cost us a whole lot NIL either. So
I'll take like a cup of coffee. No,
we got that old Crimson coffee.
There
Start
you go.
Your day off right.
If Kirby Moore wants the 3rd grade Redmond Mustangs leader in receptions with 2, I'm your guy.
Dude, I know where you grew up, man. That's funny. That
is
funny.
Yeah.
All right. So where are there's still needs? Where are you seeing needs right now in particular?
I think the cliche answer is everywhere. I mean, right? Like, I don't think any position group on this team is just completely finalized. Obviously, you feel pretty good about the quarterback spot, but you only have 3-4 quarterbacks right now. Same thing at running back. Yeah, you've got Woods and Voorhees, but you only have 3 guys plus the 2 signees. The number one position to me is defensive tackle. You have 2 guys right now. If the season started tomorrow, there would be no rotation, and Elijah Tucker and Caden Beatty would play every single snap. So that is the one position
right exhaustion out there. Yeah.
Right. And Javon Joseph, who's a signee, could play there. He's kind of a swing man between defensive tackle and edge, but they've got to get defensive tackles and several of them. So I think that's the number one position where I say, okay, they've got to get some bodies in there, some bodies at defensive end. But then I think across the board, it's, all right, they need probably another couple receivers. They could probably use another tight end, some depth at running back. There's never too much depth on the offensive line. And then, linebackers, corners, safeties. You can use any of those, but defensive tackle is the one that's pretty, I think, probably circled pretty consistently across the board for Washington State, of where they have to get bodies just purely that they have only 2.
Are there any defensive tackles you see in the portal that you think would be really good targets or are on your wish list?
Yeah, I think there's been a couple guys who have been scheduled to visit, and either that hasn't gone Washington State's way or they committed elsewhere first. There's a couple local guys, Daniel Matagi from Portland State, if you want to kind of keep a guy in the area. He's one that jumps out right away. That could be interesting. Same thing.
They've got a coaching change going on there too.
Portland State.
Right. Tuoa Tauali'i is another one who's kind of maybe in that meld and so on. The interesting thing is too, and this is always what's so tough is, I mentioned like Caden Pinnock was not a guy he was a guy I was aware of, but not a guy that I really thought they had a shot at. Jack Ball, who commits yesterday from Arizona State, wasn't a guy on my radar at all. So, there's only so much you can take from who they follow on Twitter and so on. But I think the one thing that this staff has proven is that guys who maybe in the past would have been off the board because, can't afford them, they're looking bigger, maybe that isn't as much of a deterrent. I think Pinnock is maybe evidence of that. And I think even when you look at Tank Hawkins, again, there would be a market for a receiver from Florida with that kind of speed, all the way down to the guys who they retain, Voorhees and Woods, that maybe there is the opportunity to shoot a little bit higher than what we have been used to.
Do you think that could be caused by this? I mean, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. You're basically starting a brand new conference from the ground up, and WSU does have an opportunity to establish themselves as the bully in that conference. Do you think that's a potential selling point or an interest point for some of these players?
I think it could be. I think, that there's a lot of things about this staff that sells them too. The fact of the matter is, even if it's not Kirby Moore's name, Kellen Moore's name holds weight. Oh, this is Kirby Moore's brother. That counts for something. That does have an effect. We
have not done well in Central Washington recruiting. And it's a lot because of the Moores. The Moores have been doing. We were talking to Will Durning last summer, and he's got he's in Ephrata, but he's got a cattle ranch down in that area there. Right outside of Prosser, and he was talking about a Prosser kid, or maybe it was a Central Washington kid who none of these players had heard from anybody from Washington State forever, but everybody knew the Moore family, and so these kids were just not even having conversations with Washington State. They were just going straight over to Boise State.
Going straight to Boise.
Once they started recruiting the Moores, that they just got that pipeline in there. So I think it's going to be good.
I know exactly. Carter Kukenbu from Okanagan.
That's
knows him.
Of course he does. All right, so Mr. Encyclopedia, here's my big question for you. How many new 1890 club members do we need between now and the end of the portal?
Oh boy. That is Encyclopedia. Thank you very much for the compliment. The one area where I fall short is in financial expertise. So let's just say 1 million, right?
Let's say 1 million. You heard it here.
There it is.
I don't have a number.
Guys been right about everything else tonight, folks.
We're going to get the time machine fired up and get some dead alumni on top of the 250,000 living alumni. But I think we can do it, guys. There's a will, there's a way.
Right. Yeah. No, I wish I had a more of an exact number, but I
you know what? I would take an $18 million a month budget for
that'd be
NIL.
cool with me.
That'd be pretty cool.
I can't even begin to venture a guess or an estimate without probably making myself sound like an idiot. So,
hey, Jamie, one last thing. I talked to your boss, Greg Witter, after you wrote an article about when Ann McCoy was let go, and I think that in journalism we've become to this point where it's a lot of horse race journalism. Everyone wants the race to be first. And I think you did a fantastic work of journalism on that. And I talked to Greg about that privately. You had definitely done your homework. You went through and you connected the dots. You verified your sources. And the story you told was a very truthful story. And I think you should be commended for that, because I think we need more of that in journalism. And I thought it stood out, and I thought it was a good piece of work you did. So kudos to you on that.
I appreciate it.
And if you haven't, do you want to plug your podcast? You've got one going
plug
with
Jamie Vinnick,
Greg.
man. Let's go. Do the plug. Come on.
I mean, Cougar Proud podcast, me and Greg Woods, the spokesman review, and I co-host a weekly podcast where we just talk Cougar sports. I mean, it's obviously been centered around football the last few months, and then now transfer portal coaching changes and so on. But plans to continue it through basketball season. But yeah, and then, for me, all my work's at CougFan.com. And as said earlier, that's the place to find Coug news.
It is.
Well, thanks for joining us, man.
Brother.
We really appreciate it. And Jamie, we'll let you go, but go Cougs, man.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs. Anytime, guys.
See you, bud. Man, these are two good interviews.
Dude, that was a that was a wealth of information.
That was a wealth of information.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial, and then we've got one last segment before we
got we got to finish the Damon Williams crap, too.
We do have to. Yes, we do. We've got more poking.
Yeah.
More poking the bear coming up here. But hold on. Let's see.
Here we go. Technical difficulties. Please stand
by.
This
isn't a difficulty. Yeah, we're just taking it easy.
We're having a good time. This is I think we're having a good episode.
We're having a good time, damn it. All right.
As a mind strength coach, people ask me all the time, how do you get motivated? How do you push through a tough morning? What's your morning routine? And it's simple. 2 words. Old Crimson Legendary Brew, powered by Thomas Hammer.
That's 9 words.
If you let it be. Then I get this one. Coach, what if I'm still not motivated? Simple. Drink more coffee.
Dude, I want you to know that that's 2 ads, and I've recognized everybody in the ad. And you guys didn't invite me to be in those ads, man.
We did. We did.
I know.
I sent text out to the group. I
don't recall that.
You were invited. You didn't respond. Because we will never turn away. Look, listen,
man. When we get Crimson Kush, the official cannabis of the collective, which. I know some of you are rolling your eyes, but hey, we got to come up. Was it not Brad Lorando said we got to come up with more creative ways to come up with revenue?
He did say that.
Is it a legal product in the state of Washington, much like our cocktails and beer?
That's true.
And wine.
Yeah.
Winery. Anyways.
These are 2 guys who weren't allowed to use any of these products anymore.
We're retired. We're retired because right now we told you with Lamont Williams, so we'd have like a big old bottle of Dom right here. We'd be like dusting it off. But here's the thing that I want everyone to understand: this thing at Washington is a big deal. It's a big deal, and I know it couldn't happen to a nicer group of people. I get that, but what if it was happening to us? Okay, because it can, and everyone in the country is going to watch what happens at Washington with this, because here's the thing. They have this clause in there that says they can make the buyout whatever they want it to be. No, they can't. A judge is going to take that out because otherwise you could throw some unconscionable number out there. So then they're going to be stuck with actual damages. The actual damages would be $4 million if you gave the kid any of the money, which they haven't yet, which means you're keeping the $4 million. Okay. So there's that issue. Secondly, the only type of damages they could possibly get is, let's say they already printed up all their beer cups for the year, which would be stupid to do it now, but it had him on there. Okay, well then you got $25,000 in cup printing. Okay, Williams, you're on the hook for that.
Well, what about? So I had a couple questions for you because you're the legal guy. But what if they had talked to a quarterback previously and his price had gone up since then? Now that he's in the portal, that doesn't
free market. I mean, it's a free market. No, it doesn't count as damages because what ultimately Washington signed that kid for is the value that Washington assessed them to be.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so could they force him to come back and play?
That would be so much fun. I would watch that.
Well, it would be a disastrous locker room. It would be a horrific culture. I too would get a little giddy out of it, to be honest with you. But you see, back in 1865, there was this president who made this proclamation, and he just kind of said, we're not going to force people into labor, whether it's paid or not. Okay. And so you can't force the kid into anything like that. And let us remember that these are student athletes. So is Washington saying that you could force a kid to register for the next semester at the University of Washington when he wants to go attend school at whatever school he may end up going to?
Well, and that's an important wrinkle too when we talk about contracts and things like that, because these kids are not still considered employees. No. They're able to be paid on their name, image, and likeness, but they're still considered student athletes.
Yeah, students who happen to be athletes.
And the schools have kept it that way on purpose. That opens them up to a million different liabilities.
Yes, if they were employees, then all the stupid crap that they go do on a Friday night could be on your hook. You're on the hook for all of that as well. So there's lots of reasons why the universities wouldn't want to accept that sort of liability. Here's the other thing that Washington can do, and this they could totally do it because they may have already contracted for the year to use his name, image, and likeness. So anytime he's at school B, wherever he goes, right?
Yeah.
They can send him a cease and desist letter and say, nope, can't do that. Nope, can't do that. Nope, can't do that. They could actually do that. Whether it be enforceable or not, I don't know. I would love to see Washington try because it would be the biggest PR disaster in the history of a university to do that to a kid.
Well, yes, it would be. And I don't disagree with that because it'd be really hard to recruit kids when you're actively suing somebody you were worshiping last week.
Correct.
However, we need to start. We need people to start. There's no teeth to any of this.
No. And therein lies the problem.
And that's the biggest problem. You know, there's been talk about them potentially suing LSU if that is the school and stuff like that. Like, is there anything
for what?
that
Tampering?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, and then how do you attach the damages to that? What is the damages for them stealing your quarterback? Well, okay, because of that, now we have to go to this quarterback, and even though we finished the season 7-5, we really think we would have been 9-3. How do you establish any of those damages? It's beyond speculative. But you bring up perhaps the biggest concern, and that is that right now the NCAA is feckless. It's not a leadership organization. These conferences are each operating as their own. What a Big Ten contract looks like probably will look different than what a Pac-12 or a Big 12 contract. That's kind of ridiculous because I can assure you in the NFL,
it's all the same.
It's all pretty much the same.
Well, let's talk about why things are all the same in Major League Baseball or all the same in the NFL.
Because you actually have organizations that govern in most of them. They're subject to antitrust laws, baseball being an exception.
Mm-hmm.
But baseball, and that's why you don't see as much competitive rulemaking in baseball as you do in the NFL, NHL, NBA, where it's capped. Boom. It's a competitive league. And candidly, those leagues do pretty well from a revenue standpoint because they are competitive.
Yeah. And so those are things that, this is, and we won't get too into the
because it's going to take federal legislation and getting the feds to pass legislation for anything on any side. I don't care what political party you come from is like moving glaciers. It just doesn't happen very easily.
And I'll never feel sorry for the purple people over on Montlake, but what is nice is that as this starts happening towards more schools and it gets more attention, it puts more pressure on lawmakers to actually do something here.
Yeah,
because it does. Sports leagues specifically have to be heavily regulated.
And I think we got to ask ourselves, what are we doing if we're going to pay these young men, and they are men, they're adults now, right? If we're going to pay them like they're adults, don't they need to act like adults, and don't they need to be treated like adults? And you and I both know we're professionals. If we sign contracts, we're kind of on the hook for them, and what
even if they're unenforceable contracts, I'm on the hook for them as a business owner because all I have is my reputation.
That's it.
That's what blows my mind is you see guys. I mean, like, God, you look at the Hewards at UW, right? You look at a Jack Thompson, you look at, how many books Luke Falk sold and stuff like that. Like, I don't care what the difference is, even if it's in the millions of dollars. When you look at the course of an athlete's career who stays loyal to their school, they have a life laid out in front of them, and all they have to do is support their community.
Yep.
And like, I'm sorry, but even if it's a couple $1 million, your first 5 years out of football, you're getting an ROI on that goodwill that you have in the community, especially if you're living and working in the region that you played too.
Yeah. No, there'll be a lot of opportunities when the playing days are over.
And this kid's not going to be an NFL star.
Probably he doesn't have a lot of size. I mean, I'll leave that to the experts. Tobeck, Thompson, you guys can weigh in on that.
Well, we talked a little bit about this before the show of just, it also goes to show of who these kids have in their ear too, because like, You're an NFL. You got the NFL certification for agenting, right?
Yeah, and Major League Baseball when I first got out of law school. Yeah.
And so like there's some big.
You got to take a class, and you got to take a test, and you got to prove your competency, and they actually run background checks on you to make sure you're not a dirtbag. And so 90% of your Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA agents have a legal background. They're lawyers. They understand contracts. They understand the importance of following contracts. and things like that. What I'm getting now, and I'm doing some investigative work on this, maybe this is something we can bring to our viewers' attention as we learn more and can get honest about what's going on here. There is these agents that are developing for college athletes.
Let's put quotation marks around agents.
Yeah, agents. That's right. I don't think many of them have a legal background. I don't think many of them have the best interest of the student athlete in mind. And because we're operating in this wild, wild west, if you were a client of mine in the NFL and I negotiated a big, huge deal for you, I get a certain percentage of it, and that's it, because the league has said that's it. Okay. These agents are just like, okay, kid, I'll help you out. And by the way, I'll take 25%. I'll take 20% of your contract. Well, in the NFL, that wouldn't be the numbers we'd be operating on.
These are not
numbers.
People with legal backgrounds or even that much business background. These are the people who own the CrossFit gym that the kid went to,
and as a college athlete, they're even a more disposable asset. Yep. It's not like an NFL player who you may have in the league. If you have a long career and you go 15 years, you're an agent, you can ride that career with that. It's not a college athlete.
No, it's, and you see it too, look, I think what most people don't realize is you've got these marquee athletes, but then you've got this long tail of not that much money for kids.
Yeah.
And so if I'm an agent, I'm basically going to try to represent as many kids as possible, hoping that one of them hits and is that
one of them hits deal. Or you just, or it's like the attorneys who do speeding tickets. You better be doing thousands of them a year.
Got a little experience with that?
No, I don't. I've seen those people in court. No, I do not myself.
Anyway, we'll move on from that.
Yeah, because we got one last guest, but it's actually pre-recorded.
We do have a pre-recorded guest. This is second time joining the show.
Well, and listen, here's the thing. I reached out to the good General Kirby Moore, and I was like, "Hey, General,
ridiculous.
What, dude? It's a good general. I still don't know who this person is.
I think you know who he is.
I don't.
I'm 90% convinced it's you.
It's not me.
It's not you?
Not me. No, it is not me.
Okay.
No. I swear to you, it is not me. It is not me. But I reached out to the general, who, by the way, was on vacation.
This is not the car insurance guy. This is
no. You have to go through Shaq to talk to that general. Okay. So anyways, I reached out. I was like, hey, can you do a little, I think we've had a good week or two in the portal and boy, I mean, there's a lot of energy, and can you give a message to the Cougar Nation? And so we present to you volume 2 of General Kirby Moore.
From across
to the faithful of Cougar Nation, hear me now, sons and daughters of the Crimson and Gray. When the final echoes of last season's cannons faded and the smoke lifted from the field, many wondered what strength yet remained in this regiment. I write today to tell you plainly, you have answered the call, and because of it, this army still stands firm. In a time when lesser programs fractured and fled, you stood your post. Your loyalty was not quiet nor unnoticed. Through your increased support, your voices, and your belief, we have retained the core of our fighting force, men who know this ground, who have bled upon it, and who refuse to abandon it. These veterans remain not by chance, but by conviction. And know this as well. The ranks are not merely preserved, they are growing stronger. From beyond our borders, new men now march toward Pullman. They are hungry, they are proven. They have not come for comfort, but for combat. These are players who will perform at a high level, who understand what is required to win, and who are eager to earn their place beneath our banner. Let it be known across the land, this army is not retreating. It is reorganizing, it is sharpening, it is preparing. What we build now together will decide the campaigns ahead. Continue to stand with us. Continue to invest your belief, your voice, and your strength in this cause. For armies do not endure on strategy alone. They endure on the unwavering resolve of their people. You have stepped up. We have held the line. Reinforcements are arriving. The march to greatness begins now. Signed, General Kirby Moore.
It is absolutely ridiculous.
Thank you, General Moore.
And I love everything about the creativity behind this account, even though it's not you.
It is not me.
But is not me. I will say, just
it's awesome.
Unsolicited feedback, somebody who reviews a lot of video, the Civil War footage, excellent. We got to find some Civil War footage without power lines in the background.
Well, you're the communications guy. What do you got in your large
Edward R.
library
Murrow
of B-roll?
would be rolling in his grave.
Yeah, okay.
With that.
All right. So if anyone over at the Murrow School of Communications has authentic Civil War footage that you want to share with us, hey, send it on over to Collectively Crimson, and we'll use that next time. I'm doing the best I can, man. This is what happens when you put a lawyer in charge of video editing.
You're a YouTube lawyer, though. I mean, come on. You're Washington gun law guy here. Let's we got to step it up. But I would like to
one more ad to do.
Yeah, I think we do. Hold on. I gotta
we got beer, we got cocktails.
Vamp for me for a second while I pull it up.
Well, we got beer, we got cocktails, we got coffee. Which one do we still need to do?
I think we still need to do beer. All right, so
we're gonna end with.
We're gonna say thank you and good night to everybody, and then we're gonna cut to.
Yeah, well, real quick before we go, what do we got? Over 1,000 here right now. Is that right?
Yeah, it looks like.
First of all, thanks a million for everyone tuning in. Over 1,000 of you right now live. Hopefully, a lot more of you watch on replay. But I know some of you are not yet 1890 members. And this is the opportunity. We're going to put it down in the description box below. You guys go ahead and link yourself up. Join the 1890 club because like we always say around here, we are all we got, but we are all we actually need.
I was wondering where you're going with that.
Words of wisdom, brother. Play the ad.
All right.
Good night.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
From across the state to the hills of the Palouse, Old Crimson forges ahead, undeterred, underestimated. Created by Cougs for Cougs. Old Crimson, when the sports world evolves at a pace like never before. You may be asking, how do we help our teams in these uncharted times? It's simple. Drink more beer. Old Crimson Legendary Lager. Proceeds benefit Cougar Collective. Do your part.